Welcome back to the Bentonville Beacon podcast, where we're sharing stories and advice from the leaders sparking the rise of Bentonville, one of the fastest growing and most dynamic cities in the United States. Hey, I'm your host, James Bell, and I'm thrilled to share the studio today with two women that I admire for their work in education, and of course, for being great human beings as well. Let me introduce you to Dr. Debbie Jones, who is Superintendent of Bentonville Schools, and Teresa Hudson, who is Director of Ignite Professional Studies, which is a program that provides real, relevant learning experiences in collaboration with regional businesses, nonprofits, and industry professionals. Dr. Jones and Teresa, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's get this education started.
All right.
It's a pretty simple question. Maybe Dr. Jones, you could go first, and then Teresa, would you each tell our audience about yourselves? What would you like the audience to know?
Well, I think that I'm just so lucky to get to live in Bentonville and work in Bentonville. I learn more about it. It changes all the time. Mm-hmm. And it is such an exciting, and it's growing, and there's always something to do. I think people might be surprised to know about me, or I would want them to know, is that I'm just a normal person. You know, people always call and say, I know you're so busy. I don't want to take your time, but I welcome nothing more than the conversations and relationships with people from the community. So call me.
Wonderful.
Hi. Well, I guess what I would want people to know is really that I've been in education now for 41 years. I'm not really proud of that. That makes me rather old, right? But I'm so proud of the work that I've been able to do over 41 years. Worked with thousands of students, and it is the very best career that anyone could have. And I encourage so many of our young people to really look inside themselves and see if they have those characteristics that empower other people, where you can encourage and support other people. And if that's your characteristic, you should really think about teaching, especially if you have a love of a content. So I'm originally from Oklahoma and graduated from Oklahoma State. I've taught in Oklahoma, Texas, and finally made it to God's country, Arkansas. So it's been a beautiful 10 years that I've been able to work here.
Wonderful. That's great. You know, folks should really think about education if it's not something that's really crossed their minds. I taught for a little bit taught in an MBA program and had no idea how much I would actually love it. So I enjoyed it. Taught a little undergrad for a bit too, both as an adjunct. But anyway, before we jump into our discussion about Bentonville Schools and Ignite, I want to set the stage for our audience with some sort of high-level grades or rankings. You know, there's a lot of places where you can go and find statistics, school grades, and so on. One of the tools I like to use is niche.com. And I like it because there's a level of detail there, and because it's free and it's open to the public, and that allows me to share it with others and sort of be transparent. They can make their own comparisons to other places. So I want them to be able to see that. And I'm going to add this disclaimer. Bentonville Economic Development and the Greater Bentonville Area Chamber of Commerce were wholly unrelated to niche.com. We don't have a relationship with them at all. At the time of this recording, we've never been engaged with any discussions or communications with them. I just want to mention niche.com as my source because I want people to have this independent point of reference. Okay, so audience, I checked out Niche as recently as yesterday to get the latest grades, and here's what I found. First, I checked Bentonville as a city, and I found our ranking I thought it was a little bit low. We were only one of the top 2% of places to live in the United States. But seriously, Bentonville ranked well across the board. And one of the key factors in placemaking, that is one of the key factors for making the place the best place in the world to live, work, and play is, of course, education, starting at K through 12. And so here are the latest grades for Bentonville Schools. First, academics, teachers, clubs and activities, sports, and one of my favorite ones, food, each got an A+. Congratulations. Resources and facilities, college prep and administration each got an A. So nice job again. And the lowest grade, still pretty darn good, it's a B, and that's B as in boy for diversity. Mm-hmm. So all across the board, Bentonville Schools scored really well. In fact, I had to backwards calculate the ranking from where they listed Bentonville Schools, and Bentonville Schools are ranked in the top 2% in the nation, which I found pretty exciting. And finally, whether you want great teachers or great athletic programs, both are ranked in the top 5% in the nation. So Dr. Jones, seems silly to ask, but how do you feel about these grades and rankings?
You know, that is one measure for niche is a great place to look. There's so many other opportunities. I think word of mouth speaks really highly of the school district. Getting to walk in the schools and view kids while they're learning, see the interactions between the teachers and the kids. There's nothing that can compare to that joy. We are in such an extremely wonderful place because we are able to hire the top employees. We pay well within Northwest Arkansas. The community supports its school system through their taxes very well. And I think we're good money managers within the district. And so most of our budget goes, almost 80% of our budget goes to employee salaries. And that's where the rubber meets the road. They're the most important, just like with Teresa, having such exceptional leadership in a program, they make it happen. And so our employees, and they don't just do it for the money, they do it because they truly love students, and they do whatever it takes to get kids proficient as they should, to master the content, to get them to be the very best musicians or the best athletes, whatever that may be. And they're just, because of our size, there are a million different opportunities for kids. At one point, we surveyed just the number of clubs they have at the high school, and we had over 57 different clubs at the high school. But that's aside from all the opportunities. Kids can begin orchestra in the 6th grade. Not many places can do that. When you're in choir at the high school, they do international travel. They compete. We don't compare ourselves against other districts within the state because of our population, we should outperform the rest of the state. We have a high median income. Our families are well educated. And so we compare ourselves with the other top-notch districts that you'll also find in niche across the state, United States. And so while we're really exceptional, we always try to grow. And we have some exciting plans for the future as well.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. So what are some statistics that you have or data points that you have that might surprise our audience?
How long do you want to be here? Let's start
as many as you want.
We just had graduation on Saturday, and we graduated BHS and Bentonville West, and it was a beautiful day. I had a former mayor text me and say, I've attended a big college graduation this week, and I attended BHS, and he said, well done. It couldn't have been better. It was exceptional. We had 1,344 graduates between the two schools. We have over $15 million in scholarship money rewarded to our students. We have 20 National Merit Scholars, and I could go on and on. One really important statistic. Last year in 22, we gave 33 advanced placement exams, and 22 out of those 33 exams, we outscored the global, not the national, but the global average. And so I think that speaks well. We try to compete at that national level, and that's important to us.
Yeah, as it should be. What is the secret sauce then behind the strength of Bentonville Schools? I mean, you mentioned part of it was the teachers. What is the secret sauce?
That is the secret sauce.
Awesome.
We gave this secret away. Really hiring the very best, but within every system, you have to have strong systems of operation. And so we've opened 10 new buildings in 11 years. that's not by accident. We have a long-range 10-year financial and facilities plan. In our district, in the last 8 years, you haven't seen trailers to house overflow. We're very regimented in revisiting our growth plan every year, working with the necessary entities to be really successful in that. And so there's a plan for everything. We value security. There's a very extensive security plan, but there has to be a contingency for everything. Teachers are really successful, and that doesn't happen by walking into the classroom and just loving kids. They do that, and that's probably the most important criteria. But behind that really exceptional teacher, there are a lot of systems, behavior systems, a lot of training. And unlike many of the other schools that you could always choose, one factor that makes our teachers really successful is they're experienced. And you can always visit websites and look at the average years of experience, and there's a nice sweet ground for that. It takes time to learn the skills to be really effective and successful. And so we'd love to have you stick around forever. I don't care if you have 41 years or 44 years. Right. You're exceptional in what you do. And so we do hire the best. We want to keep the best, and we're always recruiting. And so as individuals move in with big companies in our area, if they have teachers within the family, if they have administrators within the family, then we like them to reach out to us to have conversations.
Absolutely. Come on.
Yeah.
I love hearing all of this as the dad of a 2-year-old. 3 coming up in June. We're still not far away from starting the education route. And I love hearing this. I love hearing the opportunities that he's going to have that I frankly did not have. So it's really exciting.
So many, I don't think everyone realizes what a science teaching is. And it takes years of training and constant staying up to date on the training for teachers to be as effective as they can be. And so they're committed.
Yeah. Well, Teresa, sorry to keep you on the sidelines
that's okay.
so long. One of the important programs in Bentonville Schools, of course, is Ignite. Will you talk about that program and what you're looking to achieve with it?
This program was designed for juniors and seniors that are getting ready to make a really important step. They're about to graduate. They've been thinking a little bit about what do they want to be when they grow up, right? We asked them that question when they're very young. And so we decided that we really wanted to put in a program that looked very different and that we felt really met the Bentonville community needs. So workforce needs, parents' needs, family needs, all of those needs. So we began to kind of search around and look and see about a model that might work well in Bentonville. And so Ignite Professional Studies is where we landed. And in that program, we hope to provide college credit for all of our students to do certifications and to have internships. And we feel like that's just a perfect blend of that college career training that we want all of our students to graduate with. And that is what we hope to achieve, is that they make better selections of what they want to do after high school, and they're able to stick with that. We feel like this is a good testing ground, saves them hundreds and hundreds of dollars if they decide that it's not a field that they really want to go in. Most students really do pursue these fields that we try to inspire and encourage and help them network. And so that is something that most of them will go ahead and pursue. But if they don't, we all win from that too.
Definitely also a win. I liken that to the whole route of becoming an entrepreneur. Sometimes folks, hopefully very early, discover that they don't want to do that. Same thing with students. Why waste your time and money doing something that you don't want to pursue? And high school is a great place to get started figuring it out. What sort of college credits and certifications can students get at it? Can they get at Ignite?
So we're connected to NWAC, so they're a very valuable partner for us. And we do credits that fast forward that just a little bit for them when they go and they pursue some college. So for example, if you were going to be in education every teacher is going to take Introduction to Education. So we go ahead and provide that and offer that. And then they'll need to take Teaching the Exceptional Child. And so they take that. But they might be in construction and they're going to take an Intro to Fundamentals of Construction, or they might be in technology. So they're going to take their first Python class. So each one is tailored to the design of our classes, plus those, we want transferable credits, so we're trying to make sure that we're really looking ahead for them and seeing what credits would transfer and how they get associates and then get their bachelor's degrees. So it takes a lot of work. We change it based upon the trends and what's changing, and we keep in close communication with colleges so that we can figure that out, what they should be taking.
Wow, we wouldn't have enough time to get into it in this episode, but it just made me think about when you talk about trends and how quickly trends change as we've seen this year. Now you have this whole new wave of jobs called prompt engineers who are dealing with regenerative AI, learning the folks who are experts at knowing how to operate regenerative AI. And I can't wait to see sort of where that's going and what comes out of it. So I can see y'all having being on the edge of that as well. What day does a day look like for an Ignite student?
Really, there's multitasking going on. So we train them from the very beginning. You're not going to come in and we're going to have an assignment for you. Then you're going to practice that, and then we're going to assess it. You should have multiple things happening at all times, and you've got to learn how to juggle all of those things. So there's college credit going on. There may be passion projects they're working on that really tries to elevate their curiosity. Then we may have, they may be working on their internship a couple of days a week. We may have a project we've brought in from clients, and they're prepping with their team and getting ready to do a presentation on that. So when you come into Ignite, there should be fully engaged. There is no downtime because we've given you multiple things to work on. But it's all things they love. And so it's easy to engage students when you provide them things that they love to do.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I've had the opportunity to have some Ignite interns. I guess not too long after I got here, engaged 3 students in sort of doing venture scouting in the outdoor recreation space. Actually, I think it was early last year, because venture scouting is not that hard if you're looking for tech companies, because you can find those. But a lot of the outdoor recreation companies are maybe, a couple of folks working on something somewhere in Colorado or in Washington State or whatever. And they really dug in, and it was neat to get sort of their views on what the future might look like as well. Perhaps a younger view of what we should be thinking about recruiting here to Bentonville or starting here in Bentonville as well. I thought that was really neat. Okay, for both of you, if Ignite was an option when you were in school, what career strand would you pursue?
I know mine would be the culinary arts at Brightwater. Maybe second on my list would be construction, because I like hands-on out. I don't know how many, most of the times they're out on the ground building churches, doing something like that. But absolutely. There's so many opportunities that we never had in school, and some schools still don't. But the high school experience is totally different than what it was. What about you, Teresa?
I knew she was going to say that. Every time I invite her over to the culinary classes, she's right there. She never has a no for those. No, I'll be there. I'll be there.
And it's not just because I want to eat their food, right?
Yeah, no. So she is very intrigued by all the things that they learn. I probably, when I was in school, I'd pick education and business. That was the perfect crossover, what I did. So I was in all the business classes at school, loved all of them, loved school in general, which made me want to be a teacher as well. But I had this content area that I loved. So when I was in school, I'd probably pick that. Now today, the thing that's intriguing me the most is aviation. And I don't necessarily see myself as a pilot. That seems a little scary, and would be scary for a lot of people. But I love the energy there. And maybe not the energy at a big airport. I'm talking about the smaller ones where people, fly their planes in. They're excited to get in them. They're going on a little trip. But then there's that safety factor. And so it's kind of a serious business, right?
Yeah.
And because it's a lot of safety to it. But that's the one that I am intrigued and always listening and trying to learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, if I had that opportunity, I think, gosh, people who know me would say, oh, so you'd choose healthcare and you'd choose business. And my answer is no. Because of aviation and the technology strand, I would pick those two. And then it'd be a toss-up. I guess there's crossover between them. So I'd probably go aviation and hang on to all the technology I can get in with it.
Well, just think of the experience our kids have.
Yeah.
And they're sitting in their classroom looking out the window and they see the planes taking off and landing daily. And
That's cool.
While their work is very technical and hard, they want to be there. They're driven to do really hard work because they have a goal.
That's amazing. Teresa, will you share a story about that shows the difference Ignite can make in the life of a student? Maybe share the story of a student and how it made a difference.
Okay, this is a tough one. We've served over 2,000 students now in Ignite, and every one of them has a great story, a different story. Whether it's something that's driven them to the workforce, whether it's helped them make college decisions, which there's so many things. But I'm going to tell the one I know Dr. Jones likes the best.
Okay.
I mentioned this one, I think, in a graduation speech a couple
did
of
you?
years. If it's the same one.
Jesus.
Yes.
So Jesus came to America from Mexico, and he couldn't speak any English. And he came a couple of years before he qualified for Ignite. And then he tried to get in his junior year, and he didn't get a seat. It's a very competitive program to be in. So he worked really hard, and he came back the next year and applied again. That speaks a lot to us when you've been turned down the first time and you come back and try again. That speaks volumes to us. And so he got into the program. He spoke broken English, but really very good English. Had a big dream of being a cardiologist. So it wasn't something minor, it was something major. Wow. Although we don't try we try to open their eyes to so many things. We don't focus on one health position that you might want. But in the process of being in our program, he had an opportunity to do the rotations that go on in the hospitals. We're so fortunate that we get to do that. And while he was there, he met some doctors, and they kind of knew who he was. They're busy, but they got to visit with him just a little bit. And the next thing we know, this one particular doctor is trying to track him down, find out who is this young man? What was his, I didn't really catch his name, but I was so impressed. And of course, he is Hispanic and she was Hispanic. And so she tracked him down and she came in and said, I want to work with you. I want to be your mentor. I want to help you through your college years before you go into medical school. I want to help you in that process. So he took advantage of every certification we offer, and we offer multiple ones. You don't just take a class. A lot of them are on your own. He did them all. He just proved himself over and over and over. And then he actually helped a teacher one time at his high school, not at Ignite, but at his high school. She had a bleeding disorder, and she cut herself and started really bleeding out bad. And he knew how to do all the things that you need to do to stop the bleed, and then had someone go down and get a nurse, and my goodness, he helped her. And I don't know if you'd call it save her life, but it was pretty significant what he did. And next thing we know, they're coming out, they're interviewing him. They came out and thanked him so much for helping her. So he just kept getting all of this confirmation about his work and what he did. He's now gone off to college. He is pursuing a pre-med degree. He stays in contact with us. He comes back and speaks to students about pursuing these things and overcoming a lot of obstacles, because we do want every student to know they have the opportunity to do this. And we hope to see him, we're working on all these pieces, to see him go to the Alice Walton School of Medicine. It's going to be about the right timing. And that's our goal for him. It's all going to be tuition free. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's just one story, but to come and not speak any English and then pursue something that is so technical, the words, the medical words they have to use in there, so hard. So you're not just using English, but you're using all these ones in English we can't even pronounce half the time. So it's just another beautiful story about changing people's lives, about inspiring them and encouraging them and helping them. That's a lot of it, is just helping them navigate this world of getting where they want to be.
Wow. That gave me goosebumps.
I know.
That is so cool. Because not only did he have to learn English, but when you learn chemistry, that's a whole other language. You learn biology, that's a whole other language. You learn the language of medicine, that's a whole other language. This is a really cool story. We could just end the episode right there. We'd be good. How do you see Ignite changing over the next few years? What do you see it evolving to?
Well, I'd have to really think about that because I have so many dreams. It's one of those things that keeps me up at night, just dreaming of really great things. It's going to grow. Our district is growing, so there's no doubt it's got to keep up with the district. I see it. I know what we've been doing in the past and how we strategically think about career strands. We eliminate them if we don't see something really fruitful there, but then we're always kind of researching and looking at what you're doing. Things that you're doing, people you're bringing in. And we start to have conversations about that. And just, it's kind of, we have a lot of things we say in Ignite that are just as kind of our secret codes in there with our teachers. But we start talking about it and things start happening. We don't know how that happens, but it just does. When aviation, we all started realizing it's about to explode. Right.
Absolutely.
And so now we know that there's a lot going on I Street. There's things that they tell me I don't know, but there's things that are going to be announced.
That's
right. So we want to be ready and we want to be part of that pipeline. Now our conversations, I feel like we're talking a lot about biotech, biomed, biomanufacturing, where would that fit in for a place for a high school student? So we're always kind of looking, how do we fit in to this big puzzle? And we want to see Bentonville grow. And we understand about workforce and how if they don't have it, they don't come. So we want to be part of that solution and help provide some of that beginning training that might lead to the next training, or it might put them right into the workforce. We never know exactly what that looks like. There's, we say a lot of on and off ramps to get really where you want to go.
Wow. Well, I mean, you are a very important part to work to economic development. Just a few years ago, and by the way, I haven't my pure economic development experience really at least started a couple of years ago. But in talking with folks, as I understand it, it was only a couple of years ago that when companies came to visit places that they were looking for two things. What's the cost of doing business here? And do you have somewhere I can put my business? And workforce came somewhere down the list. Possibly third, maybe fourth. And now it is almost the only thing that folks talk about. And now they're like, well, we'll figure these other things out, but we've got to have workers. And so what you're doing is extraordinarily important to economic development. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, you might have heard this morning when we had our chamber meeting.
Yeah.
And I emphasized, we are your workforce pipeline.
That's right.
Please use us. Please connect with us. But it is the workforce that drives the program. And so the workforce will determine what our future programs are as well.
That's right. That's great. Thank you so much. Dr. Jones, what are a couple of other programs that you would like to highlight within Bentonville Schools?
There are so many different exceptional areas, some of the newest, the e-gaming, the orchestra programs, because we send I saw money go up with the e-gaming. We have them throughout the schools and it's competitive and you can get college scholarships. All of our fine arts programs are exceptional and kids go off to really fine art schools. They're prepared if that's what they want to do. Here's the thing, it's so expansive. Whatever your child's interest is, we have the opportunity for that. If they don't know what that interest is, we'll inspire them. For example, when you go into the Ignite programs, here's what blows me away. I'll go into the medical program and say, hey, you're going to go on to be a doctor? And they will specify specifically what program, where they're going to school, what they're going to specialize in. And I'm like, I was just wondering if you're going into medical. But it's because they've had the experience, all of these different reviews from Northwest to Mercy to the clinics. They know the field and they've created the network. People everywhere I go, my husband has knee surgery. I'm like, hey, do you have Ignite students? And he said yes. And they are some of our best workers because they came up during COVID. And helped with that. They come over the holidays. And so they have those experiences and they're able to really target in on what their future looks like, which I think is so beneficial for families. So to say we have it all, it says a lot. But that's our goal. That's our goal, to really be on the cutting edge, whether it's biomedical. It doesn't matter if it's created or not. We don't operate from textbooks. We operate from experiences, from entrepreneurs in the future, and create those workers to be really successful in our pipeline.
Well, and this is how Bentonville thinks, right? Overall, with everything. And this is one of the things that really attracted me and my family to be here. And as I said it before, and I'm saying it again, I am so excited about the future for my son. And should he have any siblings, it's really unbelievable. It's a great place to have this opportunity. Teresa, can you talk about, you've mentioned some of the partners for Ignite. Could you talk about some more of the partners that you have and how that's helped Ignite?
Oh gosh, they are so important to this whole ecosystem that we have and what we want to provide everyone. We have hundreds of partners, literally, and some of them have been there since the day we started. And then some have come and gone and come back, and you change leadership, you change, something happens within there. You got to re-educate people on how beneficial this is. We started with technology, and so truly our champions were Walmart. They had thousands of IT positions that they needed to fill, and so they wanted to come alongside us and help build that program. They have consistently been there the entire time. This year, we had approximately 40 students working in IT areas, serving in internships. They were serving on all kinds of teams. So those students not only learn from some of the brightest minds on these teams, but they learn the operations of how do teams really work. How do you code some of those things, the new languages that they learn that they're maybe not going to learn in the classroom. And so that's so beneficial. The other ones that have been there from the beginning is Mercy and Northwest with our health science students. They allow us to do rotations just like a medical student through their hospitals. So our students see babies be born, they see heart surgeries, they're in the OR. Great partnerships there. It makes the program. I'm going to just be honest. It really does. But Bentonville Schools, we're growing our own as teachers, and we want them with the very best teachers, our students. And so they make sure that happens. And now we have this great new program where our students are graduating from high school, being plugged right into Bentonville Schools and starting their retirement and everything. It's just, which is a whole nother story. But, when I think back, I'm thinking about, gosh, Walmart even expanded past technology. They kind of started it, but now our global business students, we had 25 students serving in 6 different areas. So might have been the DEI area, might have been sustainability. So they're in all of these different areas. But along the way, there's those 1 and 2 people that they can take. Haribo. There's just been Arvest. I mean, there's just so many. It's just a long list. I'm kind of thinking about the ones that take a huge chunk of students and almost have made an entire internship program for our students.
Man, that is so cool.
And that's really one of the biggest challenges with the success of the program is they invest so much time and energy in creating that link to the business. And then when that person leaves, they have to start all over. So if I could encourage companies, even if you're small, in fact, we're writing a handbook for the companies. Start an internship program that's sustainable. I wasn't a real believer that we would have a shortage of teachers because we have so many applicants, but I started seeing the national trend, and that's when we started our education program, and we are really developing our future teachers. They're very high achieving. They're trained as we would have them train, and I feel really secure about the future. because we have really amazing students that are going to make amazing teachers.
I agree. And I feel like we're looking for those hard to fill areas. So in education, we have some areas that aren't as difficult to fill. And then we have some really challenging areas to fill. And so we're trying to educate them on those and see if they don't have a love for that type of work. And we're finding out they do.
That's neat. You know, I mean, you mentioned small companies. I'm thinking back to the end of last year, the Fuel Accelerator, which brings in artificial intelligence, machine learning companies from around the world to spend a few weeks here or a few months here in Bentonville, sort of accelerating their businesses, getting connected to the business community here and building their business here. I mean, probably 25+% of those companies end up having some sort of presence in Bentonville afterwards. But there was one company in particular last year that really tapped into some Ignite students, this company Pickle from Long Beach, California. And I remember Aussie Cohen with that company was just ecstatic. He was always talking about how amazing his Ignite students were. He's like, these are high school students. I can't believe they're that amazing.
They are very professional. They're well trained. It's free labor.
Yeah.
But it really does need to be good work for the kids. And they have that young perspective, and every company needs that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure some of the students and perhaps parents out there would like to know a little bit more about you too. So let's jump between classes.
Okay.
And explore another subject. For each of you, what does a perfect weekend in Bentonville look like? Oh. What do you like to do when you're not educating is what I'm really asking.
You know, for me, it's kind of hard to go on vacation because there are so many things to do in Bentonville. So the perfect Saturday for me, get up and do yoga downtown, stop and get a nice little healthy breakfast. Oh, you have to do farmer's market on Saturday. Oh, yes. Date night, honestly, is to go to the Skylight, have dinner.
All the time.
Stop by, this is the Valentine's Day treat we discovered. Stop by Table Mesa, get a big piece of cake, go home, eat cake, have a cup of coffee, not the whole piece, of course. Save the other half for Sunday. Well, and so that's a great day in Bentonville. There's so many other opportunities. 8th Street, just great things to do. What about you, Teresa?
I knew. Why didn't I not get to answer that question first? She jumped on it.
There are a million other things to do.
We have a lot of things in common. Let's just put it that way. So maybe not the yoga part early. I could do that later. But so I do love a Saturday morning to get up, and I do live downtown, so I can just walk downtown and go have a cup of coffee and sit out at the farmer's market, really watch people. Yeah. I love to watch people, visit with people. You see people and all their dogs, and you get to enjoy all of their animals, and kind of just sit back and kick back in my morning time. Then I love a bike ride, a good bike ride. We typically like to go out to Pea Ridge and to the military park. It's kind of quiet. It's not as busy. We can ride it around. It's about 6 miles around, so we can kind of determine about like what's our day feel like, how much. Now I do have to tell you, I've changed a bit. You know, I used to be very athletic, and I loved to make everything extremely hard, and now not so much. And, you know, that 41 years is catching up with me in education. And so I got my e-bike, and I'm really enjoying that. So I can ride around the military park a lot more times because of my e-bike. And then I'm the same way. There's a good dinner, and there's multiple places. There's too many places I don't have a favorite because there's so many great ones. So you just kind of have to see what you're in the mood for and where you think you can get in. Relatively easy. And then I'm a Skylight person too. I love to just walk down to the movie theater and enjoy that. But there's really multiple things. But I guess if I picked that's the kind of day that would be a normal day if there wasn't something special going on that day.
That's a fantastic day. I hear a lot of things that my wife and I do, and of course Skylight as well. Absolutely love that place.
I do too.
How does Bentonville, and it sounds like part of the answer is there, but how does Bentonville help you and your families live your best lives?
I can say that social piece, having friends, having a supportive network is linked with longevity, and we have that here. If you walk down, I don't care if it's First Friday or Farmers Market, there are just all the city leaders are present, and they reach out, and we will help each other because first of all, we all do want to be very inclusive. We welcome people here, and we want everyone to be successful. Yeah. And so I sense that in all the other city leaders too, from the Visitors Bureau to Alan Drano, everyone that's a part of the community just wants to make the community better. So that's how they help me. They help with the job, but they also would do anything in your personal life to assist. So I think we have a really strong network.
I come from a very big city. Well, I should say very big. It's Tulsa, but it's a much more dangerous city, I feel like. I love the safety aspect. I don't mind going to Walmart at 9 o'clock at night. I don't really think much about it. Maybe I should, but I don't. So I feel like we don't feel like, oh, you can't go over there, and you can't go over there, and you can't go over there. So I love the safety aspect of how Bentonville feels. And of course, I love the outdoors. I always have, and I want to be outdoors as much as I can. And so I appreciate all the people that put out outdoor eating, and we can go just enjoy that and sit back and relax. And of course, biking and hiking and the trail. It's just endless. You never run out of things to do. And then I have to admit that school is very important to me. My job is very important to me. My work environment is very important to me. And when I get to look forward to every day going to a job that I love to do with people I love to be with, that's an important part of my life. And so that's something I'm going to really miss.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I too just love every day working and doing the tiny part that I do in helping build this place. It's just easy to do. First of all, as an economic developer, you couldn't find an easier product to sell.
I agree.
So to start there. And it's a fantastic place to live. And so in that vein, what's the most important thing that you feel that people outside Bentonville should know about our city?
It's the people. I'll tell you a quick story. Okay. So we moved up from another larger city, and we were setting up the home for the first time. And everywhere we went, we noticed how nice the service workers were from everywhere. And we went to Walmart down the street, and my husband said, they're only nice because their home office is down the street and they're afraid their boss is going to come in. And so we went to the next store, and I'm like, well, you think their home office is here too. It's the people. There is such a difference in just the genuine friendliness of the people here. And so that's it for me. It makes the place.
It does. I feel like everyone feels welcome here. And I feel like they're trying to provide something for everyone. When you think about all the parks they're putting in and all the recreation things that they're doing and all the restaurants, you just start to see those scenes, the art. I mean, I feel like maybe there's something that's not here, but I feel like there's something for everyone. And I agree with that friendliness. And of course, Bentonville Schools, I moved here from Tulsa. So Bentonville Schools was really all the first people I met. And I did the same thing. I went and I was like, really? Is everyone so nice here? And
it's Chick-fil-A. It's our pleasure. And all of our people are really that genuinely nice.
They are. I try to out nice some people here. And to your point, I go into Walmart and I really try to out nice the people in Walmart, and I can't do it.
No, good luck.
It's unbelievable. But at every level, try to out nice people. And even when you go through a drive-through here, there's something that really irritates me about going through drive-thrus everywhere, and here I haven't felt it, is when they ask, how are you? And they just launch right into the next thing. They don't actually mean it. And here, I mean, I've had folks at drive-through stop me and talk to me.
I know, it's like, and I always say,
behind me, and nobody behind me is honking. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I know. And I say, and how are you? And they said, oh, wonderful. Thank you for asking. That's their response.
It's true. Okay, before we start the final exam, if somebody wants to reach either of you or learn more about Bentonville Schools, how do they do and Ignite? How do they do that?
If they start by going to the Bentonville Schools webpage, we're all there. You can contact us through email, call us on the phone. We still answer those.
Yep.
And so that's where they can reach us best.
Perfect. Okay, your final exam.
Okay.
I have a few questions, some random, some not so random, that I think your students will really be interested in hearing the answers to.
No.
And I hope we have enough time to get through each one, taking a quick glance at the clock there. What would students most be surprised to learn about each of you?
About me. Do I have to go first on this?
I know. Well, I think, first of all, they might be surprised I was actually a teenager. And I actually might have made some of the same mistakes that they did.
Nice. Yeah.
And, because all they do is see me and I used to be pretty cool. I drove cool cars, drove a motorcycle to school even, so they might be surprised that I might understand a little bit about some of the things they go through.
Nice.
Well, since they see me in suits most of the time, they might be surprised that I don't wear heels and suits all the time, that I like a good pair of Holy jeans. I can't wear them out of the house, but I love them.
She won't let us wear them to work.
Sorry.
I love it. We're all normal people too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the 80s. So try to picture a mullet.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Hair
good mullet.
most of the way down my back.
I can picture it. Yeah.
So anyway,
that might be coming back. James,
I've noticed it seems to be coming back in some places. I may listen to my radio too loud and it's AC/DC or
I know AC/DC.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's been Teresa, what's your favorite subject? What was your favorite subject in school?
Well, I might have mentioned this earlier. I loved every business subject. So I'm a business-driven girl. I think business, even though I'm in education, there's still all that marketing and that analysis and how do we speak and how do we go meet people and just all of the things that go on in business. And I almost changed my major. But I do have a degree in business administration with my major in business education. So every subject. Now, I don't want to tell you what those are because they're obsolete. We don't teach those anymore in school.
Totally okay.
Putting
Most
the
of what
little
we
floppy
learn.
disk in the computer.
Yes. Oh, no, that was more like college. But
I remember when you could back things up to a cassette tape. I was talking to a Gen Zer the other day, and that blew them away. That wait, what? First, what's a cassette tape?
Yes.
Right? But they kind of knew what a cassette tape was because they had seen pictures and so on. They're like, how would that even work?
And you said not real well.
Not real well.
Break.
Yeah, exactly. My computer had 20K of memory.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was it. There was no RAM. It was just 20K of memory, period.
Yeah.
Dr. Jones, what career would you adopt if you were not in education?
What career would I adopt? I'd be a yoga instructor. No
She's into her yoga.
stress. No stress. Yeah. That's what I would do.
That's a good life. Okay, 2 more questions. What's your favorite for each of you? What is your favorite story from growing up that has to do with school?
Oh, I can tell you mine. Growing up, I had this family and consumer science teacher, Miss Ewing, and she was older, what she thought was older, and she learned she was pregnant, and she was horrified and crying, and I was her FHA president or whatever, and she sat down at the table with me and she was crying, but just talked to me. It built that relationship. That's the essence of teaching. A good teacher is they have a relationship with their students. They care. They let the students see them as real people. And I think that's what we have a whole crew of in Bentonville Schools. They're there to build relationships with kids.
Well, can I admit I wasn't the best student?
Oh, yes.
I
was the best
I think
student.
she was the best student because I've seen her pictures with her glasses and her studious look. We've seen that several times.
I'm teasing.
But I was very social. in school. And so some of my best memories are just the social things that we did, maybe a little bit more than the classroom things that we did, even though you wouldn't maybe know that about me now. But I think about the opportunities, though, of kind of serving in leadership positions. So even though I wasn't one of the best students, people liked me. So I would get some of these leadership positions. And I mean, think about 6th grade when you were safety patrol, how important you felt.
Oh, yes.
How did you have safety patrol at your school?
I didn't, but I could tell.
But do you know what they are? You got to put on that badge.
Did we have
and
safety patrol? Yes, we had that.
Do you still have your
never
sash?
served in that position.
I think we had to turn them in.
Oh,
I'm sure they probably didn't have enough money to buy them every year.
You should totally be able to keep those.
Yeah. So I think back about things like that, especially when I have grandchildren now, and to make such a big deal out of now that it seems so little kind of in your mind, but to them, it's such a big deal. And so kind of keep talking about that, like how special that is that they got chosen to do those things. Yeah. And really, leading organizations and clubs, and how much I enjoyed that. And so those are my best memories, maybe not as much as of a teacher, but more of that social and leadership in school.
Oh, those are great memories, though. Well done, both of you. Okay, I've got one last question. What should I have asked you that I did not ask?
What's a story that really sums up the essence of Bentonville Schools? That's a question
that is a great question. What is a story that really sums up the essence of Bentonville Schools?
There are so many, but I think of one student. This was a couple of years ago, and he moved in, I think from London, James Quirk, a high achiever, and he could have gone to anywhere. And he took 7 AP exams, 6 AP classes. He scored perfect. Do you know how hard it is to score perfect on 6 of those 7 AP exams? He's now in the London School of Business, but that's the essence is you can, if you want to be a top student, that opportunity's there. And we asked him, why did you choose Bentonville Schools? And he said, I wanted the full high school experience. I wanted the big stadium. I wanted football games. I wanted to hear the band. I wanted to see the ROTC. I wanted all the clubs. And I don't think he had that previously. And he got the full experience here. And that's what Bentonville Schools is really all about. It's a full experience.
That's awesome. It just occurred to me, and I had to go back in my notes, that I totally skipped the trademark question of this show. And so you just helped me out, because I think we can call that a hashtag because Bentonville story.
I think so.
Okay, so that means, Teresa, we get to wrap up the show with you telling a hashtag because Bentonville story. And that story is something that could only happen in Bentonville, or it describes the essence of Bentonville.
Gonna have to think about that for just a second. There is so much about Bentonville that I don't know if you can experience anywhere else. How do you come to a place where there's such an investment on making everyone feel welcome? Well, let me put it this way. When I came here, first of all, I thought Walmart was just a place to shop for good prices. I had no idea the investment they make all over the United States, probably the world. I'm more focused on some of their more local things. But they just are involved. They've come to our school and seen what our school is. I feel like every element matters to people in this in Bentonville. I was thinking the other day, I came from Tulsa. I probably never met a mayor while I was there. I met few legislators. When you come here, it's like everyone wants to be a part of everything. The mayor wants to be a part of what is happening and shows up at so many events. I don't even know how she does it. It's like Dr. Jones. Sometimes I don't know how you do it. Like, I don't know how you make all of these events. But then just that everyone cares about everything and they want all of it to be good. So I feel like that's just the essence of Bentonville, is that we're all in it together. And we all are looking for excellence in everything we do. And we're proud. We're really proud to live here.
That is a perfect way to wrap up this show. Thank you both for spending your time with me and with the Bentonville Beacon audience. Like I said at the top of the show, I really admire you and the work that you both do. And you're such an important, like the leading effort in workforce development, starting people from the start, which is such an important part of economic development. I really appreciate that and what you're doing to help build and grow this city.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
It really is.
Wonderful. Thank you to our Bentonville Beacon audience as well. Without you, this show would not be possible. So to build on this show's success, I have a couple of favors. One is, will you take a moment to share the Bentonville Beacon on social media or however you'd like with your friends and colleagues around the world? And then keep coming back to learn more about Bentonville's leaders and their businesses and more about Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas, where you get more of what you want and less of what you don't. For all of our episodes, check them out at bentonvillebeacon.com, and finally hit subscribe on your favorite podcast player if you're listening that way, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. See you next time.